All right. This week, I had a couple of clients. They're, they run these significant companies. They have a very creative and impactful product for a very niche audience. And individually, um, they both sent me a graphical representation that they worked on in their custom GPT that we designed for them. They had spent a little time in there. They had done a brain dump, and then they asked it to create an infographic in one case, and then they asked it to create a presentation for a trade show speaking engagement, and they shared the product or the outcome or the images that the tool helped them create, and it was amazing. It was amazing how well done the graphic was, how it grasped the complex aspect of their solution and put it into this very simple, easy to follow representation and in just an image. And it struck me, they were both very excited. They had done this, I just noticed that these emails had come into me on the same week. And I was like struck by how empowered they felt, how they were able to clearly communicate the value of their solution and the future of their prospect's mind in just a simple image. And the people that you really appreciate or you follow, they're excellent at this. They practiced at it. They had a whole team of experts that took their story and created their story and then went to the graphical folks and they created and went back and forth with many versions. And that's the way it was done in the old days. And that was like really weeded out a lot of leaders on telling their story, the why that product exists in the world. It made it a extreme competitive advantage to have the resources and the team and the time to devote to that. But here we're running companies, and we have our clients that we're taking care of. We have our team we're coaching, but we also have this need to do the same thing: clearly communicate and create the tools that your customer needs to get their vision, your team needs to um, sing on the same song sheet, and then to provide the tools for your prospects to take back and share their stakeholders on why they want to choose your solution. And you know, it hit me that AI is this special tool that gives you this story making, storytelling power. Because you think about the folks that um, you went somewhere with a team, you went to a presentation, you watched a documentary, or you went to a funeral and there was someone there that told the story about that person, and it made you connect and understand and appreciate them more. Well, that is a superpower. Telling story is a superpower. And so to have an expectation that AI can help you resolve that is is appropriate. And it's a superpower that can help you do the same thing as these folks with a great team. You don't need that team. You just need to take a little time and build this out, spend a little time, and do like my clients did and create these tools. So we're going to do a three-part series, and how storytelling Copilot can be your superpower. And the three stories that you need to be telling efficiently or effectively is the client story. Your clients need to understand you and get why it is that you do what you do and why that your solution fits potentially in their future. Then your team needs to be on the same page. It's a superpower when you help your team have the vocabulary, the glossary, the vision, the why behind everything that puts them on the same song sheet. And then the authority tool, one of the stories that we need to be telling needs to go into the AI systems, because more and more people are not going to Google and doing a search. They're asking these chatbots, what's the best options I should consider for this potential problem? And so these are the three stories that we want to help you tell. And that's the superpower that AI can help you do. So today, let's focus on the client story. Okay. And the reason that we're talking about story is our brains are designed to process a lot of information quickly. And in our industrialized world, we have newspapers, we have blogs, we have emails, we have social media, TV, commercials, radio, etc. All these, we're being bombarded with all this information in a form of text, in the form of blogs, things that your brain has to slow down to ingest. But if you can quickly format it into a form of a story, your brain shuts off all the other information and focuses on that story, because it can follow that story. It can quickly generate an emotion, and then it creates something memorable, and it connects that person to you because you took the time to create a story that helped them feel understood and valued, and it turns them into a champion or turns them into a buyer. And so you're, you need to use AI to help you. You don't need to be a storyteller expert. I used to be a member of a club, and we had every meeting there was a time for someone to tell a joke. And in particular, there was a couple of guys that just told the greatest jokes, and they were able to put it in a way that made you enjoy it, then you remember it, and you just you enjoyed that part. But it's because they had a natural inclination to weave together a story with uh, this unexpected ending that made you just laugh. And they had a natural inclination. But what if you don't have a natural inclination? Well, that's where AI can come in, because it does have a natural inclination of formatting a story. And you just download your messy thoughts, and then it'll format it into a way to create it in a that the brain can follow. So, for example, I gave AI just a text outline that I had spoken into and had it organize it. Then I took that outline and brought it over to Google Gemini, and it made this presentation, an interactive presentation for me to talk about what I wanted to share today. That's the power. I'm I am awful at designing slides, but AI is great at it. I just need to give it the gist of what I wanted to cover today. And here we have a nice interactive way to go and talk about these powers, these AI superpowers that you can take. And so AI can help you take facts, add emotion to it that lights up the brain's memory center. So, why it works: facts and figures and features fade fast, and people forget 90% of what they hear in a day. But stories stick because they evoke emotion, joy, relief, excitement, and they light up your brain's memory centers. And so then it gives you these big words, hippocampus and amygdala, turning your pitch into something they replay in their head. People need to make decisions. Decisions are exhausting, especially if you have a bunch of those. And so when someone's evaluating your solution, you need to make it easy for them to make a decision. And so, um, and this is a hard craft to pull off because it gets confused with marketing hype. That's the trap. That's the quicksand of most things is marketing hype. People are really close to their topic. This called the curse of knowledge. And so when you're trying to explain something or using a lot of lingo or jargon around your industry, that doesn't make sense to the folks that you're wanting to serve. They just need to know, how does it fit in my future? And it requires these masteries of engineering depth and human empathy. It requires this merging of this information, and then often it requires the founder's insight. And who is out representing your product? Mostly a salesperson, and they don't have the founder's insight. And so by bringing in these using AI and a custom GPT in this instance can help to still and create a vocabulary that your representatives of your brand, the folks that answer your phone, the folks that work and do installation or do the service, or the folks that go and sell, they can take this unified language and go represent you better and more powerful. And there's we have two questions that need to be answered. What should you buy? But that's the trap most of us fall into when we're talking. But the great founder and storyteller says why reality had to be this way. And to put that in a story is a competitive advantage. We really appreciate people who clearly communicate what they can do, how they can help you over overcome an obstacle that's in your way. And so the story that you need to get really good at telling is this story to your customers. And it's how you can make your audience the hero of a story they didn't even know they were in. That's the power of these tools. And when I started telling you about my two VIP clients, they have to go and present this concept on a regular basis to very smart people, and to be able to take an image. An image is the speed. We grew up sitting on someone's lap, showing us a storybook, and then infographic does that. And so this infographic right here tells how a telling affects the brain. This is something I created in just a few minutes before this episode. But I asked Grok in this case, how give me an infographic that shows how telling affects the brain. Well, it's the story synchronizes the listener's brain with the teller's brain. That's huge. Our world has been industrialized, and we come up with all this text, and who has time to read all this text? Well, I mean, even this text right here is like your brain goes, do we have time to cover all of this? It'd be nice just to be told, or immediately connect the dots with an image. But we're resolving several things with an infographic. We're doing what's called neural coupling. Okay, I didn't even know this term today, but it just synchronizes the listener's brain with the teller's brain. Mirroring, it enables listeners to mirror the experience, creating that emotion. We're working on two areas of the brain. Okay, dopamine, it releases when the client goes, oh, they get me. That's what's happening. The dopamine is flooding the brain, and they feel safe and they feel understood. And that's where storytelling using AI to quickly, clearly communicate what you're wanting to land is huge. And so the payoff is they remember how you made them feel. And so the company that can clearly make them feel understood and safe wins. And so using these AI image generating tools that my clients are using is very powerful. So think of yourself right here. You're standing on a mountain of value. You have all this information. You've worked, you created this company, you've taken years, but you need you need an asset that helps you convey your intellectual property that makes common sense to the folks that you're doing. So another image, this is called the 5 P's of influence. It's you can go and get tools that help you convey. Here's the 5 P's of this particular thing. But I just loved how it made these slides from this presentation. A YouTube video that I watched, and they were talking about these concepts. They didn't have these assets. These are the assets it created for me to make more sense and to land and to remember this. And so it just these tools can make you have a superpower in storytelling. You know, when we think of how, let's go back to the overview. See how nice your brain your brain wants to give you permission. Your brain's like your bodyguard. Your brain's going, you don't have time to listen to this. Oh, this is formatted in a way that we can quickly get to the main point. Your brain will allow you to focus on things. And so when we take an infographic like this is basically a storybook. This in particular is talking about AI's tipping point for this year, but it's telling a story your brain can quickly spend time. Your brain goes, hey, I'll allow you to study this for a moment. And then you're not listening, you're focusing. And so these images, the organization for you to spend time and create something like this, if you're like me, you'd never get there. It'd be frustrating and you'd be demoralized. And if you don't have a team that understands you, that you can delegate this to, again, that's a luxury that most of us don't have. People sitting around and just wanting to brainstorm and then quickly take what was in your head and put it into a format that you can go to a meeting with in just a matter of seconds. We don't have that. But these tools that are available, you can get this done. This is something I did before this presentation. And again, I just gave it some information and it said, hey, give me an infographic that communicates the essence of my point. And so you can use, you don't even have to have the words. You can go and get all of your feedback on your customers' feedback, whether they wrote a review, whether you have letters, you can get that information, throw it in, and use their words to describe what's going on. This is something I just put it in here, how stories help prospects communicate to their stakeholders. One of the things that you need to do is provide the assets so that your prospects, think about it, they investigate your solution, they risk their time, wasting their time and meeting someone that's just going to try to sell them and make their quota. They talk to you, they get connected to you, they feel understood and safe with you, and now they're going to need to go back and tell their stakeholders why they've chosen you. And so these tools, um, you can provide them the assets that they need to go back and finish the last mile on choosing you and in starting to engage with you. And so being able to create little assets that you can hand to them, whether it's a client facing GPT that would be able, they would take and they're going to get bombarded with questions. How cool to have a client facing GPT that represents your company to answer whatever questions they're going to get. They'll have the tools and the way to communicate it clearly in a persuasive way. So these are examples of the tools and the potential resources or assets that you can create to create something that um, turns your audience into a champion, that you start educating, that they feel connected and safe with you and understood. And so, again, let's review. So, we need to make your message unforgettable. We do that by creating an emotion, using the AI tools to bring you assets and a way to tell your story that lights up their memory centers. It makes you, it distinguishes you. It puts you in a very persuasive, powerful position where they feel that you understand. You're you're resolving what their brains need, and their brains need to know, hey, the time you spend with this person is worth it. They're going to help you understand a topic, and they're going to help you have a potential path to the aspirational destination that you're wanting to get to, past this hurdle or the solution that you're evaluating. And then give them the tools to go and wrap it up. And to, everybody's bought something, and then you go somewhere and you go, why did you buy that? Well, you remember how frustrated you felt when you goes, I don't know, I just wanted to. You had to explain to your spouse why you bought something, or you have to later when people are starting to learn about the decision you made, and that there's a little pushback. How cool would it be to have these tools to help you defend your decision? And so, how do we do this? Well, it's the same thing. We download all your expertise. Okay. We're going to create a custom GPT. My clients that I started this story off with, they had a version of this. This becomes your superpower to quickly convey what's going on, develop strategies, develop assets. And so, how do we do this? I just spent time with them. We downloaded all, interviewed them. We got it in. We got it all organized and programmed, and then taught them how to use it. Not only does the leader use it, their team uses it, my team uses it, and it puts us all on the same page. And so you can have your story, you can have slides, you can have infographics. Imagine how powerful it would be to have these items to help you convey the value of what you're doing. And so if this is something that you're needing help with, that's what I do. I work with leaders that have a great product, a great concept, a niche world, and they need to convey, they need to communicate it more clearly. That's what we do. We have a custom GPT I made just for you. If you want to brainstorm what your one clear offer is, I have a one clear offer GPT. You just go to ChatGPT, search in the GPT areas, one clear offer. You can also find it on our link tree here. Here's that one clear offer. Go to roionline.com/linktree. Click on one clear offer and start brainstorming about what it is that you need to do to tell your story better. This will help you get that squared away. Sometimes we have just too much. Let's just get one clear story done, right? All right. We'll see you next week. We're going to do how this empowers your team next week. We'll see you on another episode of AI Made Simple.